You know that moment when everything inside you just freezes? When the room full of people, important people, powerful ones, turns into this echo chamber of awkward laughs, and you're the punchline. That's how it started for me. It was a Thursday afternoon in our Miami penthouse, the kind of place with floor-to-ceiling windows letting in that relentless Florida sun, turning the ocean into a glittering trap below. Alexander was in the middle of his big virtual pitch to those Silicon Valley VCs, the ones who'd made him a household name in tech. He was pacing his executive suite like a lion, tablet in hand, selling Langford Ventures as the next big thing in AI-driven e-commerce. And then, clumsy as ever, his notes slipped from the edge of the glass desk. They fluttered down, landed right at my feet where I was perched in the corner, supposedly supporting him. He didn't even glance down at first. Just kept talking about user growth metrics, the ones I'd crunched for him late into so many nights. Then his eyes flicked to me, sharp and impatient, like I was just another glitch in his perfect demo. "Sophia," he said, voice flat. "No please, no honey, just command. Fetch it. Now." The line went quiet for a beat, that heavy kind of quiet where you can hear the hum of the AC fighting the heat outside. And then the laugh started, soft at first from Elena on the screen, his sharp-edged VP of Ops, smirking like she'd seen this movie before. Tyler from marketing snorted into his mic, trying to play it off as a cough. Even Mia, his wide-eyed assistant, let out this nervous titter that cut right through me. My cheeks burned, you know? That deep, spreading heat that starts in your chest and crawls up like wildfire. I could feel it prickling my skin, but I didn't let it show. Not a tear, not a word. I just bent down, knees brushing the cool marble floor that we'd picked out together, back when together meant something, and scooped up those stupid notes. Walked them over to him, placed them gently on his desk. "Here you go," I murmured, my voice steady as glass about to crack. "Genius!" He grabbed them without a look, dove right back into his spiel like I'd handed him coffee, not my dignity on a platter. The laughs faded into murmurs, the pitch rolled on. But in that moment something in me shifted, not broke, just unlocked. That night, after the VCs had signed off with their polite nods and "we'll circle back" emails, I stood in our kitchen, that massive white marble island we'd splurged on because Alexander said it screamed success, and I looked at him. Really looked. He was scrolling his phone, already on to the next win, congratulating himself in that low hum of victory calls to his brother. I poured us both a glass of that overpriced Cabernet from Napa, the one he liked because it paired with his ego. Handed it to him, watched his fingers brush mine without lingering. "Alexander," I said, quiet but clear, like testing water before you dive in. "We're over. For good." He chuckled at first, thought it was some tired joke from a long day, but when I didn't smile back, when I held his gaze and let him see the fracture lines I'd been hiding for years, his face changed. Confusion, then that flicker of annoyance like I'd scheduled this at the wrong time. "Soph, come on. It's been a big day. Let's not—" I cut him off, not with anger, but with this calm certainty I'd been building brick by invisible brick. "No more. Don't come near me again." He stared, mouth half open, but I was already turning away, heart pounding not with fear, but with this strange electric freedom. By midnight, as the city lights blurred into stars outside our windows, his multi-million empire, the one he'd built on my blueprints, started to crumble. And oh, how it burned going down. To understand why that one moment with the notes hit like a tidal wave, you have to go back to who I was before Alexander Langford turned me into his shadow. My name's Sophia Langford. Well, it was Reynolds back then. 38 now, but 5 years ago I was 33 and on fire. A marketing strategist at a scrappy boutique firm in Miami, the kind of place where we turned startups into stories people couldn't scroll past. I lived for the late nights mapping out viral funnels, the thrill of watching a campaign explode, likes turning into leads leads into loyal users who'd tattoo your logo if you asked nice. I'd just wrapped a project for a little e-commerce app, tripling their user base with targeted influencer drops and AI-personalized emails that felt like mind-reading. It was my baby, every metric a piece of me. That's where I met him. The annual Tech Tide conference down in South Beach. Neon lights, open bars, and egos bigger than the waves crashing outside. Alexander was 42, founder of Langford Ventures, this fledgling AI platform promising to revolutionize how brands hooked customers online. He was on stage, charming the crowd with his vision. Seamless e-commerce, where algorithms know you better than you know yourself. But off stage, at the hotel bar later that night, he was human, vulnerable even. We ended up talking for hours. Him nursing a scotch, me with my gin and tonic, the salt air sneaking in through the balcony doors. He confessed how his tech was gold, but his brand, a mess. "I build the engine," he said, eyes lighting up in that way that made you lean closer. "But I can't make it sing. That's you, Sophia." "Your campaigns?" "Magic. We clicked like puzzle pieces you didn't know were missing." He drove me home that weekend, top down on his convertible, wind whipping our words into promises. Dinners on the beach, walks along Ocean Drive where he'd sketch out dreams, expanding to Europe. IPO whispers, and I'd fill in the colours with strategies, micro-influencer networks, gamified loyalty loops that kept users hooked. 10 months in, he proposed right there on the sand at sunset, ring simple but sparkling like he knew me. "Partners," he whispered, pulling me close. "We'll build this empire, you and me. 50-50 all the way." I believed him. God, I did. Eloped on a quiet beach up in the Keys. Just us, a officiant and the gulls as witnesses. No fanfare, because it wasn't about the show. It was about us. The team. For the first couple years, it felt real. I left my firm, bittersweet goodbye emails to clients who'd become friends, and dove in head first. Langford Ventures was bleeding users, algorithms smart but invisible. I fixed it, quietly, methodically. Redesigned their onboarding flow with behavioural nudges that boosted retention by 40%, my code, my tests. Landed Marcus Hale, this VC heavyweight from my old network, with a pitch deck I wrote word for word, complete with projections I'd modelled on sleepless nights. $15 million wired in, all because Marcus trusted my gut, not Alexander's flash. I optimised ad spends too, scraping data to cut waste and laser in on high-value segments, tripled revenue in 6 months, turned us from scrappy to scalable. Alexander shone in meetings, and I'd catch him winking at me across the table, mouthing, "We got this." It was ours. But success has a way of shifting sands under your feet, doesn't it? Slow, so you don't notice until you're sinking. At first he'd credit me. Casual nods in investor calls. Sophia's the one who nailed the pivot. Her funnels are pure gold. Emails to the team. Thanks to Sophia's insights. It warmed me, that light on my name. But then it blurred. We pivoted smart, he'd say, the we swallowing me whole. Then just I spotted the change in little things. A board update where my metrics became team efforts, my influencer list rebranded as his visionary hires. At home, in our penthouse, that sprawling 5,000 square foot airy with its infinity pool and views that stretched to forever, I started feeling like the view itself. Beautiful, sure, but static. Part of the backdrop. He'd pick my outfits for pictures now. The navy sheath. Soph. It says stable partner without stealing the spotlight. I'd sit in on those Zoom marathons. Tablet at the ready, feeding him whispers through our shared dock. But the team? They barely registered me. Eleanor, 35 and all edges, would glance over with that cool assessment, like I was auditioning for a role I didn't get the script for. Tyler, the marketer, harmless, always buried in memes, would nod hello, then forget I breathed. And Mia, 27, fresh-faced and eager, She'd hover around Alexander like he hung the moon, laughing at his quips while I faded into the decor. Quarterly reviews were the worst. I'd perch on the suite's leather chaise, close enough to the action but not in it, dressed to impress but silent as stone. "Investors like seeing the personal touch," Alexander would say, kissing my cheek on the way out the door. Personal touch. Like I was the logo on his cufflinks. Mornings blurred into sameness. I'd wake to an empty bed, his side cool, a post-it on the counter. "Big day, love you." Coffee alone by the balcony, scrolling ghost profiles of my old life, LinkedIn pings from forgotten clients, wondering where I'd gone. I told myself it was temporary, that empires need foundations and I was his. Our success was mine, right? But deep down, in those quiet hours when the waves whispered doubts against the shore below, I knew. I'd stopped being Sophia the strategist. I was Mrs. Langford now, the accessory, the smile at galas, the silent fetcher of forgotten notes. And somewhere along the way I'd stopped fighting it, stopped reminding him. Told myself love meant blending, not battling for air. That Thursday, though, it wasn't just another fade. It was the line in the sand, drawn in spilled coffee and echoing laughs. After the pitch wrapped, handshakes through screens, Alexander basking in his win, he turned to me like nothing had cracked. "Great support today, babe. Couldn't do it without you." His words hung there, hollow as the penthouse at dawn. I nodded, smiled that practice curve, but inside, a storm was brewing. Not the flashy kind with thunder, but the slow churn that erodes cliffs to dust. I excused myself to our bedroom, his really, with its king bed and minimalist art that screamed executive, and pulled out my old laptop. The one from before tucked in a drawer like a relic. Not his sleek company issue, synced to every corner of his world. This was mine, password protected, full of ghosts. I opened the folder I'd half forgotten. Echo files. Named for the way my ideas bounced back as his voice. Screenshots of emails where I'd scripted his keynotes, spreadsheets of ad algorithms I'd coded, boosting conversions 300%, contracts with influencers I'd vetted, deals that poured in millions. And Marcus, God Marcus Hale, that 15 mil? My pitch, my rapport from years back when I'd consulted for his portfolio. Proof in every CC line, every timestamp. I'd buried it all, told myself it didn't matter. But as I scrolled, fingers tracing the screen like braille on a map to freedom, the pieces clicked. I'd fixed his chaos once, pulled Langford Ventures from the brink with sweat and smarts he never saw. Tonight I'd unleash it, no more propping up his throne. Let it teeter on its own. Little did I know, those files weren't the only secrets waiting to spill. But let's rewind that afternoon just a touch, because that moment with the notes, it wasn't some random slip. It was the splinter that finally pierced through, the one I'd been ignoring under all that polished marble and ocean haze. Alexander had been prepping for this pitch for weeks, endless dry runs in the suite, me feeding him lines from the shadows, tweaking his slides until they gleamed. The VCs were big fish, Apex Ventures out of Palo Alto, the kind who could catapult us to unicorn status with one nod. He was mid-flow, gesturing at the screen where his avatar loomed large, demoing the AI personalization engine, the one I'd blueprinted in our early days. Those late-night sessions where I'd map user journeys like constellations, turning cold data into warm connections. "See how it anticipates needs?" he'd say, clicking through voice all velvet confidence. "That's the Langford edge," and then the tablet teetered. Not a dramatic crash, no, just a soft skid off the desk's edge, pages fanning out like surrendered flags on the floor. It landed inches from my chair, that ergonomic perch he'd bought to keep me comfortable during his glory hours. The camera caught it all, of course, the team's faces pixelated but unmistakable in their freeze-frame stares. Alexander paused, fraction of a second, eyes darting down. To me. Not with that old spark, the one from beach walks and whispered plans. No, this was expectation, pure and peeled, like I was the intern he'd never hired. "Sophia," he repeated, louder now, a notch above casual, the kind of tone he'd use for a lagging demo script. "Fetch it, now. We're live here." The line crackled with that held-breath silence, the one that amplifies everything, the whir of his cooling fans, the distant hum of Biscayne Bay traffic far below. I felt their eyes on me, even through the glass and pixels. Eleanor first, her feed from the LA office, that trademark half-smile curling like she was filing this away for later leverage. "Classic Alex," she typed in the chat, quick as a knife flick, and the bubble popped up for all to see. Tyler jumped in next, his Miami Beach backdrop blurring as he leaned forward, letting out a bark of a laugh that echoed too loud in the shared audio. "Whoops, Sophia's on clean-up duty again?" He played it light, but it landed heavy, stirring ripples. Mia, sweet Mia, with her notebook always open, bit her lip on camera, but then it bubbled out. A high, unintended giggle that she smothered with her hand. Eyes wide like she'd betrayed some unspoken code. Betrayed me, more like. The heat rushed up again, that familiar blaze, but this time it pooled in my throat, thick and unswallowable. My hands, nails I'd filed short for typing marathons, curled in my lap, nails biting palms to ground me. Every fibre screamed to stand, to snatch that tablet and hurl it at the screen, watch their perfect feeds shatter like cheap vases. Or just walk, out the suite doors, down the private elevator, into the salt-thick air where no one knew my name beyond Mrs. Langford. But I knew him. Knew Alexander's playbook backward, the way he'd spin my fire as hysteria, whisper to the team later about how I couldn't handle the pressure, use it to nudge me further from the table. No, not today. I wouldn't hand him the narrative, so I smiled. That small sealed lip curve I'd perfected over coffee runs, and ignored contributions, the one that said I'm fine when I was fraying at the seams. Stood slow, deliberate, like rising from a throne they didn't know I had. The marble chilled my bare feet. Why had I kicked off my heels again? As I crossed the suite, passing the infinity edge where the horizon mocked my smallness. Bent down, gathered the pages, felt the paper's crisp weight still warm from his grip. Walked back, each step measured, past the camera's unblinking eye, placed it on his desk, right under the desk lamp's glow, and met his eyes, just for a beat. "Here you go," I said, soft as silk over steel. "Genius." He blinked once, something flickering there. Surprise. Guilt? But then he snatched it up, smoothed the edges and plunged back in. As I was saying, our retention model's up 45%. The pitch dragged on after that, a blur of charts and handshakes, but I was already elsewhere. Seated again, hands folded like a good prop, I watched him command the room he owned. Listened to him tout his innovations, the funnel tweaks I'd A/B tested in Excel hell, the influencer tiers I'd negotiated over brunches they never invited me to. Helena chimed in with ops data, Tyler with creative spins, Mia jotting notes like gospel. And me? Echo, invisible architect fetching notes for the king. When the call ended, polite cheers. "Send the deck, Alex." The suite felt smaller, the sun dipping lower, casting long shadows that swallowed the floor where I'd knelt. Alexander spun his chair toward me, grin wide as the bay. "Nailed it, right? Those VCs are hooked. Hooked, like bait on a line I'd strung." I nodded, throat tight, and murmured something about grabbing takeout. But as I slipped into the bedroom, door clicking soft behind me, the echo of those laughs lingered. Not bitter, not yet, just clarifying, like fog lifting off the water at dawn. This wasn't a bad day. It was the day I remembered who I'd been. The strategist who'd turned whispers into waves. The woman who'd built bridges he walked over without a backward glance. And tonight, in the quiet after the Empire's hum died down, I'd start crossing my own. By the time the penthouse lights dimmed to that automated glow, Alexander holed up in his study, Already dissecting the call logs for wins, I was alone with the ghosts in our walk-in closet. Not the silk dresses he'd curated, hanging like accusations, but the back corner where I'd stashed boxes from my old life. Cardboard relics from the boutique firm days, dog-eared notebooks scribbled with campaign mind maps, USB drives fat with raw datasets. I dragged one out, dust motes dancing in the AC vent's breath, and plugged it into my laptop. The screen flickered to life, password prompt blinking like an old friend's wink. Echo files, the folder whispered when it opened. Echo, because that's what I'd become. Ideas bouncing off his walls, coming back louder as his. I sank onto the closet floor, back against a row of his pressed suits that smelled faintly of cologne and conquest, and let the past unspool. There was the email chain with Marcus Hale, time-stamped 2 a.m. 3 years back. Me laying out the vision for Langford's growth loop, projections graphed in colours he'd never notice. "Sophia, this is gold," Marcus had replied, CCing Alexander but addressing me. "That 15 million? It flowed because I knew Marcus from my firm days, lunch debriefs where I'd saved his portfolio a bundle on ad fraud detection. I'd coached Alexander through the ask, scripted every slide, even the casual anecdotes that sealed trust. But in the follow-up board memo? Alex's pitch aced it, secured Apex seed. My name? Buried in fine print, like a footnote in his biography. Then the spreadsheets. God, those endless grids I'd built, cell by cell, optimizing ad bids with machine learning tweaks I'd pulled from open-source repos late at night. We'd been hemorrhaging cash on scattershot Facebook buys. I rerouted it to lookalike audiences, layered in retargeting that felt psychic. Revenue tripled. Users stuck around, not because of his revolutionary AI, but my hooks, subtle email cadences that whispered "come back, we've missed you." Alexander presented it at TechCrunch Disrupt, like he'd dreamed it up in the shower. "My vision for sticky engagement," he'd boomed to the crowd, while I sat third row clapping with the rest, my strategies glowing on the jumbotron like stars I'd named for someone else, and the prenup. Oh, that hit like swallowed glass. Tucked in a subfolder labelled Legal Dust, a scanned PDF I'd never seen post-wedding. We'd talked it vaguely pre-elopement, his lawyer droning about asset protection, but Alexander had waved it off. All easy charm. We're partners, Soph, no need for walls. Yet here it was, inked with my signature from some bleary signing session, clauses buried deep. My contributions marital support, not IP. Vesting schedules that locked me out if things soured, funneling everything back to him. He'd been planning the exit, slow and surgical, long before the notes hit the floor. My chest tightened, breath coming shallow against the wool of his jackets. Not tears, not yet, but a cold clarity, like stepping from steam into sea air. I'd poured my prime into this, 33 to 38, the years where fire either forges or flickers out, and he'd been tallying it as his gain all along. I slammed the laptop shut, the snap echoing off the closet walls like a starting gun. Fury. Sure, it simmered low, a banked coal ready to flare. But more than that, exhaustion, laced with this fierce, unfamiliar pity. For the woman I'd let become Echo. For the girl who'd traded her spotlight for his shadow, believing love meant erasure if it built something bigger. I thought of our wedding, toes in the sand, his hand in mine. 50-50 all the way. Lies we both swallowed, but mine had turned to stone. No more. I stood, knees protesting the hard floor, and texted him from the study door, 30 feet away but worlds apart. "We need to talk, now." His reply buzzed back quick. "In a sec. Wrapping metrics with Tyler. What's up?" Metrics. The ones I'd birthed, I didn't wait. Poured that Cabernet, heavy-footed it back to the suite where the ocean murmured approval below. He emerged 20 minutes later, tie loosened, that post-victory rumple making him look boyish again. "Hey, you okay?" Pitch high got me wired. Wired. Like I was the caffeine crash. I handed him the glass, clinked mine against it, Soft chime like toasting ghosts. Sat on the chaise, the same one I'd perched on during the call, and let the words spill steady, no rush, no shatter. Alexander, this, us, the company, it's over. I've been your echo too long. No more fetching. No more fading. His laugh started light, disbelieving, glass halfway to his lips. Soph, what? The notes thing? Come on, it was nothing, just heat of the moment. Heat. As if my skin hadn't blistered under it. He set the glass down, leaned in like negotiating a deal, eyes searching mine for the out. We've built this beast together. You know that. Together. The word twisted now, sharp as a hook. I shook my head, slow, the room's lights catching the unshed glint in my eyes. You built it on my blueprints, Alex. My funnels, my pitches, my nights, and you. You just signed the checks and took the bows. His face shifted then, annoyance creasing the charm, jaw ticking like a stalled engine. That's not fair. I trusted you to handle the details so I could lead. It's a team. Team? The word cracked out, sharper than I'd meant, but oh, it felt good, like lancing a wound. Teams credit each other. They don't erase. Don't command fetches in front of the world like I'm the help. He stood, pacing now to the windows, back to me, a silhouette against the darkening bay, city lights winking like distant fires. You're blowing this up over one dumb slip. I've got VCs circling, an IPO on the horizon. We talk later when you're calm. Calm, as if my pulse wasn't thunder, as if the prenup PDF wasn't burning a hole in my drive. I rose too, glass untouched on the table, voice dropping to that even keel that broke as no storms. No later, Alexander. I'm done. Don't come near me again. He whirled, surprise cracking the mask, real this time, eyes wide like I'd yanked the horizon away. Sophia, wait, what the hell does that even mean? But I was already moving toward the bedroom, door whispering shut behind me like a seal on a letter long overdue. Locked it, leaned against the wood, breath ragged now in the sudden quiet. His knocks came soft at first, Soph. Let's not do this. Then firmer, frustration edging in. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. The laptop hummed on the bed, echo files open like a declaration. 8 months I'd been archiving, half in denial, half in dream of a day like this. Tonight wasn't ending in tears or pleas. It was beginning something else. Something mine. And as his knocks faded to frustrated sighs down the hall, I opened my email, cursor blinking at 10:47 p.m. The first brick in what would tumble it all. The cursor blinked back at me, insistent as a heartbeat, mocking the man who'd made me wait on his whims for years. 10:47, the clock on my screen read, late enough for excuses, early enough for impact. Alexander's study door creaked open down the hall, his footsteps padding toward the kitchen for another scotch, oblivious to the fault lines I'd just mapped. I didn't hesitate. Not anymore. Fingers flew across the keys, drafting the first email like a letter I'd written in my head 100 times but never sent. Subject line simple. Urgent. Financial and IP irregularities at Langford Ventures. Recipients. The board. 7 names I'd memorized from gala seating charts, faces I'd smiled at while Alexander monologued. Attachments. Zipped echo files, every spreadsheet, email thread, time-stamped proof that his revolutionary growth wasn't born in boardrooms, but in my shadowed corners. Dear board members, I typed. Voice in my head steady, warm even, like explaining a strategy over wine. It's with deep concern, and full documentation, that I bring to your attention systemic misrepresentations in our financial reporting and intellectual property attribution. The attached files detail contributions I've made to core marketing infrastructures, including user acquisition models and investor pitches, which have been presented as Mr. Langford's independent work. This isn't about blame, it's about integrity. For the sake of our stakeholders, I urge an immediate review. No drama, no venom, just facts, laid bare like cards on a dealer's table. I hovered over send, thumb brushing the trackpad, heart a low drum. One click and the first domino whispered forward. Gone. Timestamp, 10:52 p.m. I leaned back against the headboard, the silk duvet cool under my palms, and let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. The penthouse hummed around me, distant clink of ice in his glass, the faint whoosh of waves 30 stories down. But in here, it was mine. Just mine. Next up, the call. Phone in hand, I scrolled to Marcus Hale's number, that old contact glowing like a lifeline from sunnier days. Marcus, 50-something VC with a laugh like gravel and eyes that saw through spin. We'd bonded over bad conference coffee years back, me saving his ass on a rogue ad campaign that could have tanked a portfolio darling. He'd wired that 15 mil on my word, not Alexander's polish. Trust like that? It's rarer than a clean audit. It rang twice before his voice crackled through, warm but wary, the East Coast time zone making it feel like I'd pulled him from a novel. Sophia, at this hour. Everything all right? I could picture him, pipe in hand, study fire low, wife puttering in the kitchen with tea. Not all right, Marcus, I said, soft but sure, letting the warmth seep in like I'd practiced in mirrors. It's rotten at the core. Langford's growth, the funnels, the projections you funded. That was me, all of it, and Alexander's been reshaping the story. I need you to pull the 15. Initiate withdrawal first thing. I've got docs if you want 'em, but you know me. Trust this. Silence stretched. That thoughtful kind where you hear the wheels turn. A pause. Then his exhale, heavy with the weight of old favours. Soph. That's seismic. You sure? Sure? I'd knelt for his notes today, erased my name from my own empire. Surer than I've been in years. He's misrepresenting stability, hiding the strings I pulled. Pull it, Marcus. For the truth. Another beat, then. I trust you, kid. Proceedings start at dawn. Call me tomorrow, we'll talk your next move. Click, 11:03 p.m. The line went dead, but something in me sparked alive. Emboldened, I shifted to texts. Quicker, sharper, like whispers in a crowded room. Elena first. The VP who'd smirked through my fetching, her ambition a blade I'd watched carve paths Alexander paved. I'd seen her emails, the late-night ass-kissing memos. She was loyal, but loyalty phrase when it's one way. I crafted a leak, careful as scripting a hook. Forwarded a stray thread, fabricated just enough in Alexander's clipped style, from his personal drive I'd mirrored ages ago. Eleanor, restructuring ops next quarter. You're talented, but too visible on costs. Need a quieter hand. We'll discuss severance. Attached. A dummy projection pinning recent overruns on her decisions. Sent. Watched the delivered tick. Imagined her in her glass-walled loft. Phone lighting her face in the dark. 11:17 p.m. Her typing bubble popped up. What the hell is this? Then vanished. Bubble, vanish, bubble, no reply. But I knew. Seeds planted deep root fast. Tyler's next, the wild card. Easygoing marketer who'd snorted but never stabbed. A leaked chat screenshot, pulled from our shared Slack history but twisted. Alexander venting to Mia about Tyler's creative flops killing momentum. Sent with a neutral, thought you should see this before it hits the team. 11:25. His read receipt burned blue, then nothing. Silencer's fracture. Last Mia. A Hail Mary, but her giggle had stung fresh. Not a confrontation, a nudge. Text. Mia, you're sharper than you let on. Check your email. Board alert just dropped. If you want out before the storm coffee tomorrow. My treat. Attached. A redacted echo file snippet. Enough to show the house of cards without spilling the deck. 11:32. She viewed it instantly. 3 dots dancing, frantic. Sophia, this real? Real is the notes I fetched today, I replied. Stay safe, dots stilled. Seed sown. By now the penthouse felt charged, like air before lightning. Alexander's laughter filtering from a call with his brother, oblivious to the tremors I'd set rippling. I stood, stretched the kink from my neck and started packing. Not frantic, not fleeing, Just essentials. Yoga pants from pre-penthouse days, the leather tote from my firm era, laptop zipped safe. Folded a cashmere sweater he'd bought, left it draped over the chair like a goodbye wave. My phone buzzed then, notifications piling like driftwood on the shore. Board replies first, reviewing immediately, emergency call at 7 a.m. Then Marcus. Wire reversal initiated. Sorry, Soph. Eleanor's fury leaped through a forwarded chain. Alex, explain this now. Tyler's. Dude. WTF. And Mia, bless her, coffee yes. Thank you. 47 alerts by 11:59, his phone erupting down the hall like popcorn in a blaze. I heard him snatch it up, voice pitching high. What the board, Marcus? Eleanor, hold on. Muffled curses, pacing footsteps thumping marble, the suite door slamming as he barreled toward the study. Intercom crackled next. Doorman, voice tinny. Mr. Langford? SEC reps downstairs. Routine follow-up on your filings? Routine, as if. I zipped the tote, glanced at the mirror. 38. Lines earned but eyes clear, and slipped the tablet notes into my bag. Not as trophy, but talisman. His empire, my echo chamber, was fracturing in real time. And me? I was stepping out, into the night air that tasted like salt and second chances, but as I eased the bedroom door open, phone still humming with the fallout I'd unleashed, one last file caught my eye, buried deep, labelled family dust. And that's when the real storm broke wide. Family dust. The label stared back from the screen, innocuous as an old vacation folder, but something in the timestamp. 2 years old, buried under layers of backups, sent a chill skittering up my spine, colder than the marble I'd knelt on hours before. Alexander's knocks had long faded to the low mutter of his phone warbling unanswered alerts, the penthouse a pressure cooker now, steam hissing from cracks I'd pried open. I clicked anyway, curiosity a hook I couldn't shake, the file unzipping slow like it knew the bomb it held. Pages unfurled, scanned letters, bank statements yellowed at the edges, a DNA report crisp as fresh betrayal. My breath caught, ragged in the bedroom's hush as the pieces slammed together, not a puzzle, but a wreck I'd lived in blind. It started with my father. Edward Reynolds. Not the distant memory I'd pieced from faded photos and Mum's vague stories after her early passing, but the man who'd bootstrapped a little logistics software firm in the 90s, back when dial-up was cutting edge. I'd been adopted at 5, or so the story went, Mum's miracle after losses, no questions asked. But here, in Alexander's digital confessional, was the rewrite. Edward's affair, a one-night storm in Miami during a tech retreat, yielding not just code but consequence. Me. And Alexander. His son too, half-brother hidden in plain sight. Born months before Dad's tragic crash that left the firm to his loyal protégé, a young engineer named Alex Langford. Protégé. The word soured now, laced with theft, wire transfers siphoned from Dad's legacy fund, funnels I'd later echo in our campaigns, but traced back to pilfered algorithms from Reynolds Softworks. Alexander hadn't just erased me from our empire. He'd built it on the bones of the one Dad left crumbling, using my own bloodline as the mortar. The DNA report sealed it, lab-stamped, irrefutable, 99.8% match, siblings by the man who'd raised neither of us whole. Notes in Alexander's scrawl, frantic loops from therapy sessions he'd never mentioned. She can't know. The guilt, pushing her out, the fetches, the credits stolen, it's to keep her safe from this rot. From me, safe? From the brother who'd commandeered Dad's codebase for Langford's AI core, who'd married his half-sister in a haze of shared ambition, then buried her deeper to atone without confessing. Rage bloomed hot, tangled with a grief I'd never named. For the father I could have known, the family unspooled by secrets. But under it, pity, sharp as salt in a cut. Alexander, the charmer with daddy issues twice over, sabotaging us both to outrun his ghosts. The shaming today? Not slip, but sabotage, pushing me toward the door before the dust settled too close. I didn't cry. Not then. Just sat there, tote at my feet, the ocean's rhythm mocking the chaos inside, waves building, breaking, indifferent. Mia's text pinged soft. Sophia, board's calling emergency. Elena's raging, said you're a ghost they should have seen. Ghost, fitting. I forwarded her the DNA file, redacted, just enough to arm her without the full scar. Use this if it helps, I typed, but know the man behind the mask. Her reply, wholly, I'm in. Coffee at dawn. Dawn fitting too. Alexander's voice cracked through the door then. Not Knox, but please. Sophia, please. The board's flipping. Marcus pulled everything. Eleanor's threatening suit. What did you do? Do? I'd undone his chains. Mine too. I opened the door, tote slung over shoulder, tablet notes peeking from the zip like a flag of truce. He stood there, dishevelled in the hall light, hair awry, shirt untucked, eyes red-rimmed like he'd glimpsed his own unravelling. 47 alert still blinking on his screen. Valuation ticker I'd mocked up for fun now a death knell. Langford shares, private, but whispers spread tumbling 35% in after-hours trades. Apex VCs dialing back with frosty reassessments. What I did? I echoed, voice even, warm almost, like consoling a child who'd broken his toy. I stopped being your echo, Alex. Stopped fetching what you stole. He stepped closer, hand out like bridging a chasm, but I held ground, the air thick with scotch and salt. We can fix this, talk to Marcus, spin the board. You're the strategist, Soph, my partner. Partner. The lie landed soft now, cushioned by the truth in his files. I shook my head, slow, the weight of half-blood settling like fog lifting. Partners don't bury family, Alex, or build on graves. His face drained, confusion cracking to dread. What? I pulled the DNA printout from my tote, physical copy I'd scanned quick, edges crisp, held it out like an offering he couldn't refuse. Dad, Edward Reynolds, you knew. Siphoned his code, his fund, married his daughter to... What, launder the guilt? He staggered back, hand to wall, the penthouse spinning silent around us. Sophia, I was going to tell you. The shaming, pushing you away. It was to protect, from the monster he'd fed. Blood doesn't buy forgiveness, I cut in, not cold but clear voice wrapping the ache like a bandage. But it explains the rot. SEC's here for filings? That's just the start. Board ousting you by breakfast. Elena's coup already brewing. His knees buckled to the chaise, Empire's throne mocking him now, whispers of fetch it echoing faint. Please. We can... No. I turned for the elevator, his sob chasing soft. Sister. I'm sorry. Sister. The word hung, a bridge burned but not without glance back. Pity won a sliver. Get help, Alex, real this time. For you. Doors slid shut, descent smooth as release. The lobby blurred past in a hush of marble and murmured staff glances. Poor Mrs. Langford, they thought. But I walked tall, tote light as lifted chains, into the November air crisp with possibility. Miami stirred slow, streetlights fading to gold, food trucks firing up empanadas that smelled like homecomings. I hailed a cab to that quiet spot by the marina, the one with mismatched mugs and waves lapping pilings like old friends. Mia waited there 20 minutes early, 2 steams rising, latte for her, black for me. 30 maybe, eyes wide but steady now, notebook traded for resolve. Sophia, she breathed as I slid in, the board's a circus. Eleanor's leading the charge, suspension vote passed unanimous. Valuations tanking, Apex froze funds. I nodded, sipping slow, the heat grounding the whirl. And you? She flushed, glanced at her phone, resigned. Starting my own ops consult. Your files. They lit the fuse. Fuse. We'd all been kindling. By 10 that morning, the blogs lit up. TechCrunch first, Langford Ventures in freefall, IP theft claims, rock AI darling. Then Forbes. CEO ousted amid board revolt. Wife's shadow role emerges. Shadow, closer to truth than they knew. SEC reps swarmed the penthouse by noon, briefcases full of questions on misfiled origins for the AI core, Edwards Code, laundered through years. Alexander gave a statement, voice cracking in the clip I caught on my phone. Personal matters. Seeking counsel. Therapy, I hoped, for the boy who'd lost a father twice. Elena texted mid-afternoon, "Oh, you, coffee?" Real talk. Restructuring without him. I replied yes, seeds of something sprouting, sisterhood. Unbidden but unbreakable. Weeks blurred into a rhythm I'd forgotten. Hotel first. Anonymous and airy off Collins Avenue. Then a lease on a condo in Coconut Grove. Nothing penthouse grand. But windows to mangroves whispering green secrets. Kitchen where I brewed loose leaf instead of pods. Lawyers came next. Rebecca Voss, Shark in Pearls, recommended by Marcus over a fortified call. Soph, this is ironclad. IP theft. Fraud traces back to Reynolds Softworks. Half assets plus restitution. Call it 10 mil easy. 10 million. Not vengeance, but value, mine, reclaimed. The divorce filed quiet. Alexander signing without fight. His half the penthouse sold to cover creditors, leaving dust and echoes. Carmen? No, here. It was Mia who stayed close, spilling her own ghosts. Dad's old intern, silenced by Alexander's early cuts. We built from there. Echo strategies, my firm reborn, mentoring the overlooked. Women like Elena, reformed and fierce, optimizing ops without the theft. Marcus's daughters joined too, fresh from Stanford, hungry for funnels that credited creators, not kings. Our first client, a bootstrapped e-com app, bleeding users. I mapped their loops in a week, tripled retention, my name bold on the deck. Echo no more. Not all smooth mind. Nights when the bay's black mirrored doubts. When I'd trace the DNA printout and wonder at the what-ifs. Dad's laugh. A family unfractured. Alexander as brother, not betrayer. But grief's a tide ebbs to space for more. By spring we'd networked 10 founders, erased wives, sidelined strategists, reclaiming patents, splitting equity fare. Eleanor led ops. Mia handled hearts and minds. We called it the Grove Circle. Coffees turning to circles where stories spilled like wine, turning scars to strategies. You taught me, Mia said one dusk, feet in the sand like our wedding's ghost. That fetching's fine, if it's your own path. I saw him once more. Pure chance. Mid-June, that marina spot again. Me sketching client briefs over iced Americano, waves slapping pilings like applause. Door chimed. He walked in. Smaller somehow. Off-rack button down, no custom cut. Posture curved like carrying less weight but more wear. Alexander. 43 now. Greys threading his temples. Eyes scanning not for conquest but quiet. Our gazes locked across the steam-wreathed counter, time folding like a glitch in his old AI. He hesitated, mug in hand, then approached slow, chair scraping soft as a question. Sophia, mind? 5 minutes, I said, clock ticking visible on the wall. He sat, no polish, just man. Therapy scars in his halting words. The files. You saw. I'm sorry doesn't cut it, but it's daily now. Working freight logistics. Odd jobs rebuilding small. Small, fitting. And you? I asked, honest, the half-blood humming faint between us. Echoes thriving. Circle 2. Women rising where shadows fell. He nodded, something like pride flickering, not possessive. You were always the light. I dimmed it. Happy? Happy? Healing, I said, the word wrapping warm. Getting there, you? Trying, he murmured, voice raw. Blood's thicker, but bridges burn clean. We rose. No hugs, just nods. Paths forking gentle. He left first, door chiming farewell. I lingered, waves approving. That tablet. Sits on my desk now. Notes yellowing. Reminder not of fall, but flight. Of how one fetch can fracture thrones, but echoes amplified build cathedrals. Small shames shatter if built on sand. True empires? They rise on truths told kind, credits given free. And you, listening here, heart may be echoing its own quiet storm. Remember, the notes you fetch aren't chains but keys. Drop the ones that weigh. Carry only what sings your name. If this unravelling held you breathless, smash that like your spark fuels more tales like this. Favourite twist? The blood tie or the circles rise? Spill in comments below. Subscribe, bell on. Let's echo louder together.